there we have it. OnePlus is, well, not dead. It's dead in North America. It's dead in Europe, which includes the UK. We've just come off a briefing with OnePlus, basically explaining their global restructuring. Most importantly though, before we delve into this a little bit, if you own a OnePlus device in the UK, in Europe, in North America, they will fully honor the full length of the software updates and service commitments and aftermarket sales. You can still have warranties that will all still be unchanged, which is a massive thumbs up. They're not just tucking the tail between the legs and running away. However, the software on your Oxygen OS powered OnePlus phone is going to change to Color OS, Oppo's software. They do say that Color OS and Oxygen OS use the same underlying code, and if I show you my OnePlus 15 and my Oppo Find X9 Pro side by side, both from a software point of view and a design point of view, you'd struggle to tell them apart, honestly. These brands have been merging closer and closer every single year. So while they do say that your OnePlus device will be fully supported with many years of updates, that will be with Color OS. However, they will allow you to actually roll back to Oxygen OS if you prefer that, although we don't know about how that will work with security updates. There's a lot to unpack here, but today is officially the day that OnePlus pull out of most markets. I say most because we actually did press them on whether they'd still have new products coming in Asia, Africa, the rest of the world. The world is, of course, bigger than North America and Europe. They wouldn't give us any details there. Essentially, the big focus now is on the parent brand, Oppo. It's still a relatively young brand, 12 years for OnePlus, but they've done an awful lot. They've launched an awful lot. And I mean, they had this fantastic community, the red boxes, these pop-up events, Oxygen OS, flagship specs, but without the flagship price. Never settle was the tagline, is still the tagline, I guess. I suppose they have settled a little bit. So for a lot of us, this OnePlus 15 will be the last phone we can buy. And actually, I was looking on the website for £849. You can get this with a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, like a proper flagship phone. Yes, the Oppo Find X9 Pro's camera was better, but this had the flagship Snapdragon chip and bigger battery. It's a very nice phone, particularly at that price, but I just don't think it stood out. And in fact, if I'm being honest, I actually never got around to reviewing the OnePlus 15 because it was just a bit underwhelming. It didn't stand out. What did stand out though was this. This is the original OnePlus One back from 2014. If you remember, Carl Pei and Pete Lau from Oppo left to create their own company, OnePlus, in 2013, and very quickly launched this about a year later, 2014. And this was running on the Cyanogen mod software, so a really sort of early open source version of Android, which was massively customizable and actually really did make the phone stand out. That and the price, and also this design, which in hindsight maybe is a little bit ugly, but it was a whole new brand of phone, which was very exciting. But then soon after, they lose the license to use Cyanogen mod and then create their own Oxygen OS, which in my mind becomes one of the biggest selling points of the OnePlus brand. Minimal bloatware, it felt fast and responsive, and compared to One UI from Samsung and all the Chinese phone softwares, Oxygen OS was literally a breath of fresh air. It was so nice to use. It made the phone feel so fast. Then a whole trickle of phones, OnePlus 2, the 3, not the 4, because the number 4 is bad luck in Chinese. It sounds like death if you say it. I think my favorite OnePlus was the 7. Was it the 7T? I used to use OnePlus phones all the time, and I think that sort of 7 series was the sweet spot in terms of design, performance, and also value for money. But then things started getting a little bit more convoluted. They introduced the Nord brand, which was an even cheaper range, and this was kind of a reset for OnePlus and going back to their roots of offering best value phones. They were a lot cheaper than the full flagship phones, which were now competing with the absolute top-end iPhones and Samsungs. But I don't think they sold particularly well, and then they even introduced the CE series below that. So you had the Nord CEs, the Nords, then the regular OnePluses. It all just became a bit complicated. But at the heart of it was still the excellent Oxygen OS and also just the excellent community that they built. OnePlus had pop-ups all over the world. They became a huge brand in India and like the best-selling phones there. And I do want to give them credit for giving us what I believe is one of the best foldable phones of all time, the OnePlus Open. Now, of course, the reason this was so good from OnePlus is because it was made very much in partnership with Oppo. For a long time, for the last few years, they've been utilizing Oppo's logistics and supply chain and factories and R&D. The brands have been on this sort of collision course over the last 5 years, which is funny because obviously Pete Lau and Carl Pei originally came from Oppo. Now Pete Lau is back at Oppo as a chief product officer. Carl Pei famously then left OnePlus to start Nothing. They're actually based in London, and they're doing some really cool stuff. And it's almost like the Nothing brand has taken what OnePlus used to be in this sort of grassroots budget, kind of for everyone startup mentality, and gone a whole different direction, where OnePlus was just slowly eaten back into the behemoth that is Oppo. So OnePlus consistently made very good phones, but over the last couple of years, they just didn't stand out as much. They got more expensive, they weren't as interesting as they used to be, the software was becoming a lot more like ColorOS, and then with the OnePlus 15, it was just a bit of a damp squib of a launch. OnePlus was struggling, and then at the beginning of this year, things got even worse, when there was a whole flurry of videos and blogs and leaks, rumors about OnePlus being dead or dying. Nothing was confirmed, but there were lots of reports, staff were leaving, it was all a little bit of hearsay, and I think it was only OnePlus India that actually confirmed it was still business as usual. It was quiet from everyone else. So enough about the history, let's actually talk about what this means. As I say, if you do own a OnePlus phone in Europe, UK, North America, all the same warranty and support will be honored, which is great. And over the next few months, they'll roll out the ColorOS software to replace the Oxygen OS, which is a bit sad if I'm honest, but ColorOS has got so much better over the last couple of years and actually has gone up to be one of my absolute favorite third-party softwares on Android. When I'm using the X9 Pro, the X9 Ultra, ColorOS 16 is every bit as nice as Oxygen OS is and used to be, although with a bit more bloatware. OnePlus would also not confirm the state of the brand in other regions. This briefing and this update was entirely for Europe and North America, because my next question was, well, are we going to see OnePlus phones in India and in Asia and other countries in the world? Are these still going to continue the brand? How is it going to fit alongside Oppo? Didn't get any further details there, so it's still a bit TBC on whether OnePlus entirely is dead or it's just going to be in certain regions. But certainly it is a tactical retreat from two very big markets. And I also imagine a lot of jobs have been lost. I'm sure some have moved over to Oppo. We actually asked Oppo about this on the call, and they said, well, employees were given the respect they deserved and thanked for their help and creativity, and it was sort of up to them what they did. They didn't really make it clear if everyone from OnePlus was going back over to Oppo. It's always a sad day when a really positive, well-recognized brand basically ceases to exist, or it does for a lot of us, because I've been following and making reviews and talking about OnePlus for my entire life of doing Tech Chat plus a couple of years. It's a bit sad. I do think Oppo phones are terrific, but it's not the end of the world. Oppo makes some fantastic phones. You've got the Reno series, which are a little bit cheaper, but my favorites are the likes of the X9 Pro, X9 Ultra, which is my phone of the year so far for this year. And if you do want something cheaper and more quirky, then go and look at Nothing brand. Those are fantastic phones as well, particularly at that price point, which was what OnePlus used to be all about. I think the biggest losers out of all this are you guys if you live in North America, because you can't access Oppo phones, they don't sell them there. You used to be able to buy OnePlus phones, but not anymore. So now you've just completely lost access to that brand. Anyway, enough waffling from me. Essentially, OnePlus is all but dead. TBC if it's globally or just in some markets. But what do you reckon? Do you see this coming? Are you disappointed? Could you care less? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.